Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Aaron's right here, everyone. I'm joined again by the lovely, relatable Reese. Good morning, Reese, or good afternoon, Reese.
Good, you got it right today. Good afternoon, Aaron. Yesterday.
Every
You said good
afternoon is a
morning.
morning for me.
It's okay.
Okay, ladies and gents, we're gonna do another. We're gonna play another recorded phone call. This time with a Sea Org member who was fired into the Kansas City org. As a number of Sea Org members have been fired into the Kansas City org because there's not enough staff to run the org, and they had to send half their staff to Flag for the new executive training program. So Sea Org members are not only they're not holding all of the posts, but they're running the org and they're holding key posts. Is that accurate, Reese?
Yes, sir. I think they're running most of the org because a lot of the people who do run the org are at Flag right now for the training program. But that's not why. They were supposed to only be there as a mission for 6 months when it opened in 2019, but they didn't recruit enough new staff. So they're still there running things.
That's incredible to me because Kansas City is known to be one of the more successful Class 5 orgs in the United States. And even they do not have enough Scientologists in the entire city, in the entire state, in the entire central United States to man up their building. It's really something.
And that's years. I mean, that was when I went to the org opening. They told me that this is here for 6 months till we get it manned up. That was 2019. They're still there.
Wow. So about 8-9 months ago, a Sea Org member named Sophia called you, and she was in Scientology. They call this doing chaplain cycles. So, in a regular church, a chaplain is like the minister. In a Scientology organization, the chaplain is the one who deals with people who are upset with Scientology. That's what the chaplain is. Like, if you're like, I'm upset at the org, I don't want to come back. And you don't want to pay any more money, they send the chaplain after you to find out what's wrong and to smooth it over and to say, I'm sorry on behalf of everyone, and we've changed. Please take us back. We won't hurt you again. Is that a good characterization?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you, but with all the family upsets I've had a lot of chaplain cycles in my time. Yeah.
So this poor Sea Org member named Sophia calls you to find out, why didn't you ever come back into the org after you finished your survival rundown? Which, guys, that's what Scientology has rebranded and renamed the TRs and Objectives course. It's the lower level. It's kind of a combination of a training course and an auditing course. We don't have to get into it. It's a relatively low level introductory training and auditing course called the TRs and Objectives. Now they call it the Survival Rundown. You finished that at the Kansas City org and essentially never went back, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And they call it the SRD, and it's what you do after the PURIF.
And poor Sophia called you to get you back in and said a lot of things that are going to be very unfortunate for Scientology, for Dan O'Connor, for Kathy Sullivan-Otto, for the Kansas City org, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. And guys, I listened to this. I haven't listened to this recording in months, and I listened to it last night. I do want to say I feel a little guilty about this one because the Kathy one, the more I think about that and just what we all went through the last couple of days listening to that, she came off as evil to me. There's really no other way to put it, Aaron. I don't know about you, but like in the beginning of starting that first live with you, I felt bad on the Kathy audio. I was like, she was my friend, but then processing through them like that day by day, I was like, I don't hear a friendship anywhere in this. It was very one-sided and it was really nasty. I mean, how many times did she say, I'm not trying to shut you up? I mean, what kind of a friend is that? A friend would say, I want to help. This is really concerning. I'm so sorry that you went. I mean, nothing. There was none of that. So I don't feel bad about that anymore. This lady actually, I don't think, guys, that she was a longtime Scientologist. She says in the audio that she's been a Sea Org member for 12 years. I don't think she was born into it. I don't think she really has experienced anything bad yet. And she actually does seem to care. I feel sorry for this woman. For whatever happens to her, I'm going to feel bad.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think an important distinction between the phone call with Kathy and this phone call is this phone call from Sophia. She's actually doing her job, which in this case is trying to repair the relationship between people in Scientology. Like,
Yes.
if you are a true believing Scientologist, there's nothing shifty or weird or dishonest about what she's trying to do. I mean, she has the thankless job of trying to take people Scientology has screwed over and trying to smooth it over to the point that they come back in. Now, Reese, even as I say these words, I know that people are going to be hearing these words and going, so basically, you mean that her job is to get someone to come back in so they can be re-abused. I understand why most people are not going to want to think favorably about Sophia in this phone call. I guess I'm just trying to say she's at least honestly trying to help someone, as opposed to Kathy, who was being completely self-serving and covert and
Yes.
lying about almost everything she said in the phone call.
Just like her disgusting brother. They're just evil. I think they're just evil people. This woman, like Aaron just said, I feel like with all she knows, and this is all she knows, she's using the tools she has with what she knows to try to help me. And she actually sounds like a real human being in her responses. In a lot of some of it she doesn't, but most of it she actually responds in an appropriate reactional way, unlike Kathy, who was totally dead behind the eyes and lifeless, I feel.
That's right. By the way, I just saw this. Guys, I've been seeing YouTube channels all across the platform make comments in their videos that their viewers are reporting being automatically unsubscribed from a whole ton of YouTube channels. So just recheck your subscription status on my channel, on Reese's channel, which is Relatable Reese, which is linked to in the description down below. Just double check your subscription status just to make sure. All right, we ready to rock and roll on this?
We're ready.
Okay.
And it didn't really result in anything. But then you were doing your SRD back then, like back in 2016, I think. Did something else happen then? Or were you still trying to sort out Gene at that time?
Did something else happen then? What do you mean? In Scientology?
Like when you were 25, you decided to not, like you just reconnected. Then how long were you still in communication with him after that? Do you remember?
I haven't talked to my dad in over 10 years now, like 13 years.
Okay.
And that was just a brief time that I talked to him even then. And then before that, it had been about 10 years. So.
Okay. Right. Oh yeah, I remember that. That's right. But then you were continuing on your SRD until 2016. So then 2016 hit, and then, or maybe even later, I'm not sure. But literally the last thing that you started was SRD, and then you were rolling on that. And then when did you stop?
When I finished it.
Oh, you finished SRD?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I have like missing data. Gosh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Nope, I completed it. Now they came back like a year or more later and said you have more to do, of course.
Oh.
How that always happens.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. True.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, and they said you had like the full thing, or like a little bit, or
I don't
some
know.
additional?
They quoted me some certain amount of hours, but that's the last I heard.
Oh wow. Okay, and so then you finished SRD, and then you just didn't re-sign on to anything else, so you were gonna go to basics or something, or?
I don't remember. I didn't re-sign on to anything else. I know that, but I don't remember what the next step was.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, because I did see a success from you when you did the End of Endless rundown. That was really nice.
What is the End of Endless rundown?
It's like this. 1 second, I'll tell you. Actually, I'm gonna read your success. It's like an interiorization rundown.
Oh, out in? You mean with my auditor, Michael Phillips? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about that is he told me that the whole reason I guess I was out in is they said that because I had really bad headaches.
Guys, this is really deep into the Scientology terminology, the End of Endless rundown. We're not going to bother defining it because it doesn't have any actual relevance to the conversation.
And one other, I want.
Reese, did you see my private chat real quick? I just because the volume of the recording is low when we speak into the mics for this
Yes.
session here. Let's speak quietly so we don't blow people's ears out.
You mean while it's running?
No. When we pause it
Oh,
and we
sorry.
speak, let's just speak quietly.
Should I talk like this?
Nah, I don't actually know. I'm just going to try not to speak as loudly
Okay,
as I
okay.
usually do.
I just wanted to apologize to everyone. I don't ever sit still. This is actually weird for me to do a YouTube show because I have ants in my pants all the time. I'm cleaning all the time. Aaron just tried calling me and I was vacuuming. So I'm sorry for the loudness in this video. I was unloading the dishwasher because I saw someone say, "Are you chopping wood or cleaning up broken vases at Kathy's home?" So sorry. Sorry about that.
And guys, yeah, so we're gonna try to speak a little quietly because we realize the audio level on the recording itself is much lower than our audio level. So anyway, this is Scientology ASMR.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, sorry.
Never forget him saying at the end of that, "You won't ever have a headache again with me as your auditor." And I get headaches all the time still.
Oh no!
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's a bummer of an
did they-
empty promise there, but yeah. No, I still get headaches
Yeah, well,
just
that
like I
sucks.
always did before that
Uh-huh.
program. So
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
yeah.
Did the headache started again right after you finished your program, or did they just come back months later?
No, they were no different than they ever were. I just continued to have them
Oh, wow.
right after. So
Damn, that's not good.
well,
But
I think
it's
that's
also not good he told you that, because who knows, right?
right, but I think he was kind of making his point is like you were out it, that's why you had these headaches. And now that we've handled that, you won't have that problem anymore.
I think people will be slightly entertained to hear that in Scientology, if you have chronic headaches, they do generally believe it's because you are having weird restimulations on the subject of going in and out of your body. And since a thetan is normally located in the head, as most Scientologists will tell you, they give you an auditing action designed to address essentially difficulties going in and out of your body. That's
what I was told when I was diagnosed with the headaches, that I was going in and out, and that's why.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Well, he told you that. Then, I mean, if we need to do a repair, like a repair session or anything, absolutely, we can do that.
yeah, I don't know if I talked to you or somebody else. I've had tons and tons of repairs and sessions and ethics handlings and PTS handlings
PTS
and
handling. Yeah.
nothing's. I have not had any real success in Scientology. I think it's I don't agree with it. I think it's not a lot of thinking for yourself. So I think I've been told a lot of things that will happen or occur, and so far I haven't had that happen. And you already know the story with my dad and
the staff cycle. I think you told me it's when you were 14, right? 14 to 16.
when I was on staff. Yeah.
What was your post again?
Cope officer.
Oh wow, that's fun.
Yeah, I don't think it's.
By the way, COPE officer essentially means deputy HR director.
I don't think it's was right for a 14-year-old. I think the whole thing was. There was a lot of abuse and just things that really went wrong, and I'm very turned off by the idea of Scientology because none of that stuff ever got handled and swept under the rug. And so,
Yeah, that sounds good.
well,
what can you tell me a little bit in regards to like obviously Gene wasn't handled for you, obviously, because
right.
you're still not in comment, he's still being nasty to you. I mean, obviously you're not talking to him, but last time you talked.
And for anyone who didn't already see the earlier videos, Gene is Reese's father, who even when they were both in Scientology, disconnected from Reese and disowned her completely. So, and he for anyway, we won't get into it.
Talked to him, he was nasty. Obviously, that was 13 years ago, and what was that? I guess it was before GAT2, so fine.
Oh, that was after GAT2.
GAT2 is the golden age of tech number 2, which occurred in 2014, the end of 2013, the beginning of 2014, and was just David Miscavige's second attempt at completely redoing the entire Scientology bridge. So anything that was ever wrong before 2014, people will say, oh, that was before GAT2. Everything's good now.
And someone just said, when was this conversation? Before or after? I think she meant doxing. This was, Aaron accidentally outed me in January. This conversation was in November, so it was before that.
Mm-hmm.
It was after? Oh.
When was GAT2?
GAT2 was November 2013.
So I had my son in 2009. That's when I last saw him.
Mm-hmm. And that's when he was nasty to you again.
11, 12, 13. I mean, I guess he saw my son when he was like 3 or 4, and that was at his house in Omaha, and that was the last time I spoke to him. And then I saw him at the grand opening, the Ideal Org grand opening. So yeah, I saw him definitely after GAT2, but it wasn't for very much. It was like one trip to Omaha. Yeah, it really makes no difference. The guy's been pretty awful. I don't think it's going to make any kind of difference what gets released or what has to be redone. I don't think he's going to change.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, obviously he's doing his training. I know he was doing his auditor training since then. And, you know, I mean, obviously people sometimes change, you know. But,
is he clear yet?
Yeah, he is clear.
Is he on his OT levels?
Not that I can see, honestly, or not that I know, but I mean, there was an update. Actually, hold on. Oh, I knew he was clear. No, he actually did OT1 in 2015.
Gene Wally did OT1 in 2015, and he's still OT1.
I don't know if he's still OT1, but this is kind of 20. Okay, here you go. What I have here, which is a little bit funny, attested to clear 2018. Never mind, forget about the OT cycle, because you know what I like this thing updated and it says stopped on OT2, and I'm like, that's impossible. Nobody can stop on OT2. Like, you have to do OT 1, 2, 3.
Right.
You don't stop on 2 because you have, like, standardly you have to get through OT 3.
Right.
So then I was like, that makes no sense. So then I started looking more and more, and I went up and I was like, oh, here, I tested to clear in LA org actually in 2018, December 2018.
Okay.
So that's good. Wow. And then he was doing his academy training for this in 2015, which is after GAT2. Like, this is GAT2 training.
Mm-hmm.
Got a bunch of basics on First American ACC right now.
Okay. Well,
who knows?
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I know you told me that you wouldn't care if he would die. So.
No, I don't think it's going to change. I don't think Scientology is going to change a thing. I think he'll die the same way he has always been, but you'll know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think I've spoken to him once because I think he did Superpower.
Long time
I used
ago.
to be a Superpower MA at Flag some years ago, and I know Giselle for sure. You know Giselle, right?
Oh, I know who that is. Yeah, she's OT8.
Yeah.
Who's Giselle?
Gisela is his current wife, his fourth wife.
Oh.
And guys, I've seen also a couple questions. Like, is this before? Yes, this was before anything was found out about. And someone said, why is this person calling you? It's very common for a public Scientologist to get phone calls around the clock. For me, it was to get phone calls from the Sea Org. If you're not coming in daily and doing something in the church, they're calling you going, what are you stuck here? We want to help you. they want you in there. Like Leah Remini says, you as a public, you do 2.5 hours a day of some kind of a service. So if they have a whole list of people and they're checking off, going, okay, this person's here every day. Oh, Reese Quibell, she hasn't been in 6 weeks. We need to call. And 16 people will call me and bombard me. Sometimes they'll show up at your house.
Yeah. The fact that Sophia used to be a superpower MAA at Flag and now she's on project being the chaplain at Kansas City means Sophia's got a little story to tell as well.
Good. Maybe she'll get out.
Yeah. I mean, when I dealt with her, she was nice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you think of her, but she was nice. And then I think he was either at Flag just on the same trip or he also did it. Oh no, look, he did Superpower in 2014.
Yeah, he did Superpower a long time ago.
There you go, yeah. So that's when I met him, but I saw thousands of people, so I remember how he looks like, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But yeah, so there you go. Apparently he's clear now. And on Academy Level 0, he's doing his training. Was it you who went to Flag and did training as well, or was it someone else?
Someone else.
Okay, good. Just checking. Good. So then you see these. I guess you talked to your ex-husband, right, Michael? You guys still hang out?
No.
You don't hang out. Oh, okay. I
Uh-uh.
thought you guys still had a close comment, I guess, because of your son.
No, we don't hardly talk at all.
Okay, fine. No problem. So then you get to keep. What's your son's name?
Huxley.
What is it?
Huxley, Huxley.
Wow, Huxley. Wow, cool. That's good name. Definitely very unique. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Very well done on that name.
I know. Aren't they weird in their responses on things? That's awesome because I named him Huxley. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so then Doug does visit you at least once. Is it once a month or once a week?
At least once a week. He's back and forth here all the time. He's gonna be over here tonight at some point.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's great. Okay. Awesome. So then you are saying, so you spend some time. You guys, what? And do you guys work now, right? Or you don't work?
I don't work.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That's awesome.
What do you do like on your spare time?
My husband works from home. He has his own company, and I help with that quite a bit. And then we've got our pets, and I've got Huxley, and we have a very large house that I am often cleaning.
Oh, wow.
As we can hear on all your phone calls.
That's all I do, guys. That's all. How weird. Don't you think this is weird? It's like Kathy. There's so many private, personal. So you don't work? Well, what do you do in your spare time? What do you think I have? I don't work. I just said that.
What type
It
of
gets
shampoo
weirder.
and conditioner do you use? What's your favorite fragrance? It's just a way of showing interest. They think that's how you could just show interest in someone.
It's because they're so socially awkward, to be honest. They're
they really
socially
are.
awkward. Yeah, it gets weirder, guys.
And you said who works from home? Sorry.
My husband.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen you on me when I last spoke to you.
Yeah, I might not have been. We're newly married.
Wow, cool. What's your husband's name?
Jeff.
Jack?
Jeff.
Cool.
Jeff.
Jeff.
J-E.
Sorry,
Yeah, Jeff.
Okay. Yes. Okay, understood. Cool. And you guys get along well and stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say we get along really well.
Nice. Okay, good. Well, congratulations on the wedding that I missed.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Good. So you're doing well on that. I guess you're just having a little bit with Huxley, a little fighting back and forth a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, just turned 13, so just very hormonal, I would say.
Yeah, I believe you. Damn, I was really hormonal when I was 13.
Yeah, exactly. It's normal. It's common.
Right. What do you do to deal with him? Do you scream at him, or do you just?
I don't really scream at him much anymore now. I would say Probably.
He's like, the screaming doesn't work anymore. I prefer the belt these days.
I don't really scream anymore because I'm not a Scientologist. I honestly think she said, "Do you scream at him?" Because that's what we do in the church. Do you just scream at him like everybody else? Is that? That's why I was like, not really anymore now that I'm out.
All you said is he's hormonal, and she's like, "How do you deal with him? Do you scream?"
Do you just scream at him? I thought that was. I heard that last night. I almost spit my drink out. I was like, scream at him. No, and I figure she asked because it's like that's just the common way of dealing with people. And I like how she said I was hormonal at 13. I wanted to be like, were you on staff? Were you in the Sea Org? Shouldn't have been. Shouldn't have been, guys. That's a child.
She's like, yeah, we here in the Kansas City org, we scream. It's much better than the kicking and the punching I was used to at Flag.
How do you deal with him, Aaron? Do you just scream at him, or it's so casual?
Oh my!
I feel like if I
goodness.
would have said yes, or if I would have been like, no, we hit him, she would have been like, oh, cool.
Yeah, great,
Cool.
very well done. Oh my god.
They ignore each other more than anything and give each other space.
Okay. So then you just kind of like, okay, do whatever you want, and then you just walk away.
Yeah, or just make him go to his room or, whatever I need to do. But now screaming doesn't really work.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How is he doing at school? How is that going for him?
Reese, do you know this woman?
No, I've never
You've
met her
never-
before.
And she's asking you how your kid is doing in school.
I'm surprised she didn't ask about my cooter. She asked about everything. I mean,
Well, when when she
That's
said
how they are.
congratulations on the wedding I missed, I thought
And
to
that-
myself, what do you
like
mean?
that you weren't invited. Yeah. She doesn't know. I'd never met this. I mean, unless I saw her at the org opening, but I couldn't pick her out of her. I don't think I've ever met this woman. But Aaron, you know how they are. I mean, there's Scientologists, if anything, are super entitled.
Yeah,
And you need to answer all their questions. I mean, that's
true.
yeah.
Wow.
It kind of up and down. He gets good grades and then his grades fail. And he gets in trouble for disrupting class sometimes, but it's all been that way for a while. I mean, he's always been he doesn't focus very well. He has a hard time focusing.
I see. Oh, okay. But he's like a smart kid. It's not like
I think so. Yeah, I think he's pretty smart.
Or anything like that.
Yeah, I think he's quite smart.
Okay, good. Did you ever teach him about like study technology or anything like that?
No,
This would-
no, we look
Okay.
up words for sure, but no, nothing else.
Okay. Okay, fine. At least he knows about looking up words, so that's good.
Oh yeah, he definitely knows about that.
Oh, good. Okay. Does Doug talk to him about anything about like Scientology at all? Or that's not something he knows, or
No, not at all. I've made it pretty clear I don't want him exposed to any Scientology. Just because of my upbringing. I don't want him to go through what I went through.
oh, okay, got it. So you basically don't want to have anything to do with Scientology.
No, I think it's
Keep
been
good roads, good weather.
I think Scientology's been very harmful.
Oh wow. Okay. Got it. Is there anything that you think would help you? Like even if we give you a free session or to address any upsets?
I mean, considering how many sessions I've had and upsets we've addressed, I don't know what would be different. Nothing's really been corrected, and I've been very vocal about it when I was on staff, when I was active in the church, and like I said, I've had handling after handling, and I don't.
On Gene or in general? Or
In general, just all the things, like I just said, all the upsets that I've had and things that have been handled and things that were illegal and shouldn't have happened in the first place, abuses. I've brought up all that stuff and it really doesn't get resolved. So
Okay. What do you expect to be a result? Like,
I-
meaning, like, what do you expect? Do you expect, like, oh, this person to whatever apologize to you or go to jail, or I'm not like
I don't know what I would expect. I think it should have not been swept under the rug. I think things that happened, you know, I talk about it with people and they're like, well, that person's on their OT levels now, so everything's okay. Or I think people should have to pay for things that they did, and nobody seems to have to do that. So there's no paying the price for things that went wrong, or, you know, the thing that I hear the most is, well, it's different now. Things are different now. Things have changed.
Mhm.
And that's the best answer that I get. Nobody seems to have an answer.
Okay. Good. And then the specific people would be Jean, Dan O'Connor, Maggie, anybody. Like, obviously, those people have gotten corrected, like, hundreds of times. I don't know about Jean, obviously, but obviously we know he went clear and he's on his Academy level 0. Maggie is on OT7 now, and just came back from Flag, actually. And
Who
Dan
is?
attested to OT7.
Did you say something?
No, I said it to her. I said, who is?
Oh. So it's incredible that she's expecting you to no longer be upset with the people who abused you, because they have done more of Scientology's bridge since then. So they're obviously a different person, a better person. Now, what's your problem, Reese?
What did she say? They've had done like hundreds of handlings.
Hundreds of corrections.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's what's going on.
Sorry?
Who's on OT7 now?
Maggie.
Maggie's been on OT7 for like the last 30 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying that obviously now we've had G82 for OTs, which is like it was released 2 years after the actual G82, right? Because obviously everything was reviewed and actually made standard the way.
So in other words, Maggie had to restart OT7.
She's literally been on it since I was like 10 years old. And she's like, yeah, but
But it's a different OT7 now.
it's different. It's the new one.
Oh my God.
Been in the beginning, right? People would have not messed it up.
Oh my God.
And you have to do like training to get back onto OT7 and audit properly, right? So I know that she is obviously on the OT7 now, and I know that she just came back from Flag, and she was there for like 4 months or 3 months or something, and definitely very good.
Okay. Yeah, no, I did not know that, but Maggie was on OT7 when I was like 12 years old. So yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I guess, and that was like what, 20 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
25.
Yeah. It's been a long time that she's been on 7, but that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, just, people change. I mean, I've never seen her scream or yell, and I've been here for a year.
Oof, I sure have, but yeah.
Which is good. I mean,
So she did just admit that as a Sea Org member, she has been posted in the Kansas City org for at least a year. And wow, she's never seen Maggie Kittinger yell. Maybe things are getting better, Reese.
It's got to, they've had hundreds, Aaron, handlings.
also, I think you spoke to Diana, who is the director of personnel, and she's also here I think you spoke to her in the beginning of 2021, and she also was like, yeah, I've been here for 2 years. I've never seen her scream, so that's 3 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, I guess I just feel like that's the point. It's like, well, let's just move on because we haven't seen them do it, so we don't have to hold them accountable for anything they did. I mean,
yeah.
That's
obviously the people have gone session, have gotten spec checked, like so much, like every 6 months at least you go and get a spec check at Flag as part of your OT7 refresher stuff. So, and it's definitely much better. And now it doesn't take 30 years to get somebody done with OT7. That's for sure.
okay.
Yeah, I think most people finish it in 2-3 years.
Right,
but
right.
You gotta be the best. Yeah, you gotta be the best auditor for yourself. If you're not, don't know what you're doing, you're obviously not gonna move very far.
Okay.
Yeah, like people on OT7, they audit themselves. So if you are like a class 5 auditor, then okay, obviously you're gonna most likely know what you're doing and finish faster than somebody who has no training except for like a super new auditor, you know.
So I guess I mean, if that's, you know, the explanation, but what about, so is that it? Just those people are sec checked and they're on their OT levels? So is that like a clean slate, or is that like a, we don't have to worry about it anymore because they're normal now? I don't know what that means. Like, what about all the damage that they did to others?
Okay. So obviously
Okay.
depending on all obviously people are different, right? One thing. Maybe something I consider an overt, you might not consider an overt. Or
By the way, guys, the word she's saying there is overt, which is sort of Scientology's word for a sin or a crime. Or a harmful or destructive act.
something you consider an overt, I might be like, what? No, it's
Right,
not an
because
overt.
ethics is a personal
Right.
thing. I get that.
Exactly.
I'm talking about things that are actually illegal, like breaking the laws. So obviously that's not a personal thing. That's illegal, right? Like choking
That's
somebody,
moral,
like
yeah.
hitting somebody over the head with a fax machine and choking them out. That's not a, you see it as an overt and I don't, right? Like, you know, that's illegal and not okay.
Yeah, that's definitely not okay. Absolutely.
Okay. Those are the things I'm talking about.
Okay.
Cool.
Right. Well, that's definitely not okay. And I mean, I don't know. Obviously, that's been like 20 years since then. And I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just saying that, I mean, at least the person should apologize, you know, or somehow make up the damage and, you know, be like, you know, I did this. What would you like me to do to make up the damage to you? Because this is not correct. I mean,
yeah, I don't need it made up. Here's my, I guess what my upset is like, I don't need an apology or anything like that. It's just that Scientology holds itself so highly as this elite group, right? Like super highly ethical, higher than WOGs. They're above it all. They're, you know, they're the least swimming in the mud than everybody else. They're more OT. So if you hold yourself that high and you stake that claim, why is that okay ever? Like, why was that okay ever? I get it if somebody else does it that's a WOG, it's like, well, you're a criminal or whatever, you know, it's like, but they hold themselves that high. They hold that title, Scientologists do. So if you're going to hold that title, why is it okay to take a 14-year-old, hit her over the head with a fax machine and knock her to the ground, get on top of her and start choking her? And then just say, well, he's had sec checking and he's on his OT levels now. That's what I mean. It's like, where do you pay for that? Where's the accountability?
Well, that I never said it's okay. Definitely is not okay, and that should have never happened, as you said. And it's I mean, it's crazy, you know, the way you look at it. And that was I mean, I would say that was totally reactive and absolutely not okay and should have never happened. And, you know, like, I don't really have any words but that. And I just know that here in Scientology, we believe that people can change, and they do change. So, I mean, obviously, the person, okay, might have had probably bajillion withholds, you know, and whatever. We're not leading the most ethical life, and you know, it also takes. I mean, realistically, if I just look at it, right, like any such situation is like, okay, well, if it's two people, right? So I don't know if you said something that provoked that, or if he just, you know, stood up and started doing that. It's just, you know, it's definitely not correct. And
can you pause that? Did you just hear what she said? I don't know if you did something to provoke that.
Oh, let me play it again. Oh, that's the wrong button. That's the wrong button.
He just, you know, stood up and started doing
a little back. Yeah.
If it's two people, right? So I don't know if you said something that provoked that, or if he just, you know, stood up and started doing that. It's just, you know, it's definitely not correct.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. Dan was 24, 25, and I was 16 when he beat me over the head and choked me. I don't know if you said something to provoke that or.
Right.
I mean, that's how they think, guys. That's how they think.
It
I just
really is.
when I
What
heard
did you
that last night, I was like, "Oh, what did
Yeah.
she just say? That was a child."
Yeah. Incredible.
And we believe people change. So obviously that was 20 years ago. He's done a bajillion psych checks since then. He has done conditions. Absolutely. I can guarantee he's done conditions. And if he didn't include you in that condition, then, I mean, that's not cool, honestly. And probably should have done something to you because you were the one who received the damage. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know what your comment with him. Maybe you told him, never approach me again, otherwise I'm going to have you arrested. Then he's like, okay, I'm not going to do anything to Reese ever again. I'm just going to stay away from her, and hopefully she just flourishes and prospers.
No, never said anything like that to Dan. Last
Okay.
time I saw Dan, I gave him a hug. I think that was at Liz's funeral. So yeah, nothing like threatening to have him arrested.
Okay. Okay, good.
No, I guess I'm just
I'm
again,
liking a little bit of data.
it's this eliteness, this esoteric group of like elite, people. And so I just expect more. I guess my expectations are higher. And at the time, he was a class 6 flag trained CS. So this wasn't some guy
Yeah,
off the street. This was our highest trained person at the org.
Right. Well, he was already trained back then. I guess.
Oh, yeah.
He was already trained in 1998. I think.
Yep.
It's true. Well, I don't know. Did you guys ever talk about it afterwards, or it never was brought up again?
He talked about it. My dad asked him why he did it, and I was standing there, and he just said, per HCOPL knowledge reports, LRH gives the guy a black eye, and that's why I did it, and that makes it okay. It's on policy.
Oh my God.
So
my
that
gosh.
was the conversation we had.
Let me jump in real quick. You'll notice that at no point does this person, nor would any other Scientologist, receive this information from you and go, "You're kidding me. Give me that information in writing. I'm going to do something about this." We don't put up with that stuff here. If that's true, I'm going to get an investigation done into why he wasn't removed for assaulting a child. And the reason she doesn't respond this way, and no one else would, is because this is normal life in a Scientology organization. There are no protections for children. It's not against the rules to assault another staff member. It's not something that would result in removal. It's the example David Miscavige has set from the very top of the org board.
And just to add to that, Aaron, the key thing here is they don't follow the laws of the land.
Exactly.
So yeah, what is she going to do about it? They don't follow the laws. They make their own laws. That's why it's okay to hit somebody in Scientology. No one can go to the police. You can't report that. So that makes it very okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Wow. Okay. So then he basically just said that to make it right, and then.
That's the last time I've talked to him about it. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay, got it. That was, and then in February you guys saw each other and you gave each other a hug, and that's it.
I mean, I've always been cordial with Dan, but I've seen Dan take people apart verbally, just screaming at them years and years after that. So I don't know what's changed, and the point is I don't care. I'm just asking you as an actual person there, as the chaplain, like. This is my upset. I'm telling you what it is. And I just don't seem to ever get an answer. I had this conversation with Brenda like 2 weeks ago. And she was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. And I thought, well, this is why we go round and round. And I don't want a session, and I don't want to do anything, because nothing gets solved. And nobody seems to, I mean, those things are not accounted for. And I've got tons more stories than that one. And I just don't, it puts a bad taste in my mouth. I've not had success in Scientology like other people.
Okay, I understand. Okay, well, I'm thinking. I guess my question would be, did you ever write a knowledge report on him for all that?
Yes, it's come up in session. I've written reports. People have helped me with it. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I guess I don't think a lot of these people are ethical or elite. And that disappoints me. If you're going to hold the title, I expect it, but I don't see it.
Right.
You know, my dad's brother, I don't know if you know who that is, David Sutter, my uncle.
I've heard of him. I think he's in Florida somewhere. I don't know what he's doing, but
Yeah, he's awful. He's absolutely awful. And the last time I saw him was at the grand opening of the Ideal Org, and that was when I was newly dating my husband now. And I brought him with me. He was totally raw, you know, he doesn't know anything. And David Sutter walked up to me and said, "You see your dad's over there?" And I said, "Yeah, I saw him." And he goes, "He doesn't give a shit about you."
that's terrible.
It's just, who are these people? This is Scientology? I'm not impressed.
It's true.
Not
and
impressed.
David Wally Sutter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It's ugly. I just, why is that okay?
It's not. And you're absolutely right. And, we do have people that are like that, unfortunately, and we label them appropriately. I mean, I'm pretty sure did you read the ethics book?
Yes.
Okay. Remember the whole PTS A to J labels?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So some people deserve to be labeled, like they're doing unethical stuff. They're doing criminal stuff. They're doing things that are not okay. So then we label them. People sometimes are very, very anti that. So then we're like, you know what? You're going to go into that file. And, we do label these people. And some people are off lines completely and just like doing God knows what. And we're like, okay, well, we tried to recover them. We tried to help them. But if the person's like, fuck you, I'm not doing anything, we're like, okay, well, we can't really do much for you.
Right. I get it.
What does she think you're saying? That's exactly what you're saying. F you, I don't want to do anything.
Right. But also what she's saying is like, we label those people, we weed them out. Nope, because Dan is still there.
Right.
And he's the worst one.
That's right. And no one in the history of Scientology has been labeled PTS type B, which is criminal, for assaulting another Scientologist because it's not considered a crime.
Yes, that's correct. Because they don't follow the laws of the land. Their hands are basically tied. That's why, as you can see with her, kind of like Kathy, we're just going around in circles, this dance we're doing, because she doesn't have any real solutions. That's why she's like, what do you want to be done? He's done hundreds of handlings. He's had so many sec checks. That's their solution. That's their laws. That's how they put their ethics in.
Yeah. The
You
solution
don't
to
call the
everything is
police.
just do a little bit more Scientology and that will fix everything.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
If you're going to be like that, right?
Sure. It makes sense.
It's true.
I
Not
understand.
everybody does. Yeah.
I
Everybody
understand.
deserves like that title. Absolutely. You're right.
Yeah, I guess I just I have a lot of unanswered questions there, like why that's gone on for so long, or why some of those illegal things happened and no one did anything about it.
Right. In regards to like what happened with Dan and things like that.
What happened with Dan? And I mean, like I said, I've got a whole list. I mean, I was 14 when I joined staff, and I was sleeping with a 31-year-old who was in qual.
It wasn't done.
I'm sorry?
And it wasn't done.
No, that wasn't Dan.
Okay.
And the Treasury Secretary followed me into HCO one day and like pushed me up against a file cabinet and felt me up and grabbed me and tried to take my clothes off, and it was horrible. And I reported that.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
That's
like,
horrible.
yeah, it's just it's fucked up, and I just am like, what? Nothing gets.
And that's why people need. Yeah, I mean that's totally not okay. And nobody would get away with that right now, ever. Ever. Like even like for the moral legal system right now, like, oh, do you touch somebody, you go to court. Like people are pretty aware of that now. But I'm saying, like, even that's totally not okay, and that's pretty crazy that happened to you. I'm really sorry about that experience, actually, because it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think that guy is around. Who is that guy?
Well, the guy that I was sleeping with at the time in Qual, his name was Shane Null. I think he lives in Seattle now, but I don't know anything else about him. And then the other guy, I'm pretty sure he was declared. Tom Harry was his name.
Yeah, well, I guess if he was declared, then there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people are just messed up, you know. And yeah, sometimes.
But I just have to jump in. She just acknowledged that expelling somebody from Scientology for sexual crimes against children, that even if they would do that, they will not involve the authorities. She literally just admitted it. Well, if it's declared, there you go. But there's
because
nothing
our
more.
system worked. Our system worked.
Exactly.
Our ethics system. But it's interesting that what that guy did, the filing cabinet situation, she's like, that's terrible. Well, there you go. We got declared. Oh, but Dan hitting me over the head with a fax machine, choking me to the point where I was peeing blood and went to a hospital. Well, that's a pass because he's on 7 now. I mean, that is. Do you guys see how like nothing makes sense? Like, just I'm glad we're playing these again because it kind of is therapeutic to do this with 2,000 other people.
Yeah.
It validates me because she's making me feel kind of crazy in this conversation. Kathy made me feel real crazy. Yeah. And that's what they do. That's what they do. They twist things up in knots and they weave webs, and it's never a solution. It doesn't go anywhere. And that's why I keep asking the same thing over and over, like I did with Kathy. It's like, but you're not answering me. Where's the accountability? They can't answer. It's just crazy.
Exactly. Even
and when she said you go to court, I feel like she was talking about ethics, like a court of ethics.
Oh, I felt like she was making a reference to the Me Too movement because she said even in normal laws and morals.
Well, what's weird about that is it's like because when Dan hit me, it was 1842. Like there were no laws then. This wasn't that long ago. We had laws then too about assault. I assure you. So it's weird that she says like even in these modern laws and times that wouldn't fly today.
Right.
I'm not
as soon as you
100 years old.
As soon as you mentioned having been assaulted in Treasury, she goes, "That would never happen now." You go, okay, but you don't seem shocked that it would have happened then, though.
Right. Which then, like I say, I'm 39. It's not like this was 86 years ago. This was not that long ago.
And it's the same people who are still there.
The same people, but she acts like the laws of the land have changed now, almost. Like, now you do that today, you go to court. It's like, think you would have done that then too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we did make a mistake hiring people that should have not been hired, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So I agree with you. Like, now it would never happen. Yeah. I've been in the New York for 12 years. Nothing like that has ever happened to me.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad.
That's good.
That's what I mean. There's people,
seriously?
there's the new people in Scientology. Like I was born into it, and my dad was super abusive about it. Like early on, like calling me an SP, a bank, a downstat. I mean, at the age of like 5, I didn't know what that shit even meant. So I had pretty bad experiences, but there are people like you who are, have had nothing like that, and they experience the new Scientology, I guess. I don't know what else to say.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess the new Scientology. I mean, obviously, I was also around before G82, so it wasn't like super, like, it wasn't completely non-standard, but it also wasn't what it is now. So, and now it's like a complete new age, like with the whole golden age of admin, and obviously G82 is out now, so it's just night and day, I would say. I mean, my auditing, I spent probably like 6 months on a sec check, and now it's like, okay, 5 days and you're done.
Yeah.
Definitely different. So that's good. That's a plus point.
That is. And again, if it's changed, I think that's great. It's evolving, but I've just got too many bad experiences with it. And I don't fully trust that things are going to be that different for me. So,
I get you. You're like, I don't want to keep putting my, I know there's an expression in America. I'm going to just say it. Like if you already got hit so many times, you don't like keep putting your hand there to keep being hit. So
right. Right.
I understand. Okay. Well, I mean, I would definitely like to. Obviously, we have people who have a lot of things to say. I have people who are like, I'm not coming. I have too much baggage, and I'm like, oh, well, bring your baggage with you.
Yeah.
We'll handle it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, even if you don't want to come in and you want to meet somewhere else, or if you, I mean, we have auditors, and they're New York auditors who've been around for a long time. Very, very, very nice people. And I'm sure that, one of them would love to give you a session and clean up whatever baggage or whatever, bad experiences you've had.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And I'm sure they're very nice. A lot of them were very nice at Liz's funeral last year.
I want to point something out real quick. Give you a session to clean up the bad experiences you have. The focus is on you and cleaning it up so you're no longer upset about them, not focusing on making reforms for the conduct that's being discussed. I think Scientologists, I mean, it's so easy. Scientologists lose sight of the fact everything is handled from the perspective of addressing how you feel about what happened, not making right what happened.
Yeah, not actually addressing it. That's a very good point, Aaron. That's almost the point of sessions, if you think about it. My mother-in-law's parents died kind of close together, a couple months apart, and she was the DED, Deputy Executive Director at the time. This was not that long ago, and she kept having to get handled and go in session because she couldn't stop crying about it. And then she finally told me, she was like, I'm doing much better. She was like, I'm not crying on post anymore, which is good. So it's like they're trying to nail out of you the emotion of something, or like the attachment that is the human part. And that's what HENR is, human emotion and reaction. They're trying to get rid of that. So she's trying to do what Aaron just said with me and Dan. Like, let's get you in here to detach the emotion from that. Let's get that away so that it's just an incident that occurred and you're not upset about it anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's for me. And I will continue to like my friends who are Scientologists. I have Brenda and Doug in my life. I don't think it's been successful for me. And I think I'm just going to keep away from it.
Okay. Got it. Okay, fine. You don't want to do anything right now. It's okay. And just one question. What did you think about whatever books you read or whatever materials that are from L. Ron Hubbard?
I think it was a lot of mind control. I felt like it was a lot of telling you what to think and do. But I also grew up with, and I still hear, I told Brenda that Doug gives verbal tech all the time. A lot of, well, what would LRH do? Or LRH says this, or, LRH tells you to do this, or I feel like it's not a lot of thinking for yourself. I feel like it's a lot of, this is what LRH says, so this is what you do. This is what policy is.
I get it. Did you find anything not policy necessarily, not the green on white, but any like you did life improvement courses? Did you find any of that helpful?
Well,
Did you find any of that
sure.
useful at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely think there's some basic knowledge that wasn't necessarily invented by LRH. That's just basic stuff, like the way to happiness. I think those are all good, the precepts in that. But I also think it's nothing invented by him, to treat your love and honor your parents, or
Reese, those dings are text messages you were receiving while recording the phone
Yes, guys,
call, right?
someone keeps saying that. That's why I was cleaning. You hear all this. My dog probably barks. I never intended to share these. This was just for me to go back and listen to the gaslighting and trying to give myself the confidence to leave this cult. Honestly, that's why I recorded these, because I wanted to go back and go, you're not crazy. Listen again. Listen how they don't give you an answer. I never intended to share this with the world. So had I would have, turned off my ringer and I would have been in a quiet room, but I didn't intend for anyone to listen to these. So I apologize for that.
You know what I mean? It's pretty basic
very
stuff.
Basic things. Yeah. That's true for sure. I mean, I'm sure he saw it and he just put it all in one book and then, oh, yeah, here you go.
Yeah. And learning how to clear words. Yeah, I think that's valuable information. I do it all the time. If there's a word I don't know, I
Right.
look it up. So yeah, there's definite, like, I've had successes as far as like I've made good relationships with people, but I'd say 90% of it was really harsh and abusive. And I was taken out of school and told I was going to be on staff at the age of 12. I think that's not okay. I started smoking cigarettes and sleeping with a 30-year-old by the time I was 13.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you
if I could go back and redo it, I would not do it. And why would I put my kid in that? I don't want to put my kid around that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you wouldn't do that right now with
Huxley, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I was like, what's the name of it? Oh, Huxley, that's right. Unusual, unique.
Yes, it is. So yeah, I don't have the.
You're talking about sexual abuse of a child, and she's laughing. I'm really glad you recorded these calls.
She's laughing. She's sweeping over it, going, "Yeah, I wrote it down." I mean, yeah, it's like Kathy. There's no reaction or like, "Oh my God, we need to," like you said, we need to. I'm going to go get this guy right now and pull him off post and find out why he's still here. This person is clearly a predator and shouldn't be around children.
Yeah.
That would be a start.
Yeah.
Successes that you've had. That's all.
Yeah, I get it. Do you I'm gonna ask you something else. 1 second. So you decided, did someone like talk you into joining staff and like kind of forced you into it, or you were like, oh, let me join staff and see what this is about, and then 2 years into you were like, forget it.
No, I remember Liz Carr came down the summer I finished 9th grade, and it was right after I finished, so it was like May or June, and she regged my dad to have me do a Purif, and I think at the time it was TRs and objectives, and
Oh yeah.
so I did that over the summer. I came back, and my dad was like, "Did you like it?" And I said, "Yeah, it was great. I had a good time. It was a fun summer." And Liz came back and said, "You could continue this and join staff." And I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds fun." And I didn't really feel like I knew what was entailed. Obviously, I was 13 years old. And moved in with Liz and Alex Carr. And yeah, I hated it immediately. I hated it.
After you joined staff?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, people were so mean. It was lots of physical abuse going on and screaming all the time, throwing chairs all the time. I mean, it was all it was all the time.
God.
From
That's
9 in the
insane.
morning till like midnight all the time. So my son just turned 13. I can't imagine putting him there in that environment and saying, go live here, and I won't see you for a couple of years, and you're going to be a full-time staff member and not have any schooling. Yeah, that's pretty bad. It's pretty irresponsible.
Yeah. And you also didn't have the best experience, so that kind of sucked.
Yeah, it was just people were very dominating, and everybody wanted to be in charge of everybody else, and stats. And I mean, at that time, that was 2 orgs ago, the building I was in, and it was, I mean, I'm telling you, it was a lot of screaming all the time. A lot of get it done, impingement, screaming, and chairs throwing all the fucking time.
That's crazy. I thought I heard some horror stories, but
well, you can ask Abby Carr. Abby Carr was there, Liz's daughter. I lived with her. She didn't go to school. She was just brought to the org every day, and she was 5 years younger than me. And Michael, my ex-husband, he can't even talk about it. He'll start crying. He has like anxiety through the wall because of all the stuff that was thrown at him, the screaming, all of that. He's can't function in society today because of it.
Oh, wow. That's really bad.
It's terrible, and nobody gives a shit. No one does anything about it. There's nothing to do. There's no solution. And, I've told Brenda over and over and over, and she's like, well, maybe you need some vitamin B. I'm sorry. That's not it. And a purif isn't
Yeah.
it either. He's got some serious, deep stuff that happened to him that was against his will, and he was forced into it. And I was married to him for 10 years, and I know these things. And Dan O'Connor and Maggie Kittinger were two, and Linda Nelson were three of the big culprits that scared the shit out of him and intimidated him and broke policy. And now the guy can't, I mean, he can't even drive a vehicle. He hallucinates. He's freaked out all the time. So
No, that's really bad. Really bad.
no accountability.
Okay, so yeah.
Can you pause it?
So what the
What I just talked about, I almost feel like crying. It makes me very, very sad about Huxley's dad. That is the truth. The guy is like really, I'm always thankful. I just want to say, I'm sorry, Aaron, I won't go on forever on this. I'm always thankful that what happened to me was bad, but I've always somehow been strong enough to kind of pull myself out of it. You know, I have a child. I've made a good life for myself, and I can function, and I love people, and I love talking to people. I love helping people. Um, and that's why I love therapy so much, because we can kind of put our heads together and talk about things and like solutions on how to climb out of it even more. What I just said to her was such a sad story, and I haven't really touched on it ever on YouTube so far. Huxley's father is 5 years younger than me. He was so badly abused. He was born into Scientology as well. That what I said is true. He can't function. He can't function in society. He can't talk about Scientology without he gets cold, he'll start crying, he'll start shaking. It's really horrific and sad. And I'm thankful that at least I can talk about it. And I was married to him for 10 years, like I said, and I would try to help him through that. But I mean, I guess what I don't need to go on and on. What I'm saying is it really hurts my heart that I said those things to her, and any normal person would have gone, oh my God, especially because his parents, his whole family is in Scientology. She knows them. His mother was going to be the executive director. She's been on staff almost 40 years. Brenda, that's who we're talking about. His father, Doug. And she doesn't say anything about that. Like, oh my God, that's so sad that we have an adult now in their 30s that can't drive a vehicle because they have such high anxiety out in the world.
Yeah.
He wasn't born that way.
And
He
they
was made that
actually,
way.
I mean, they look down. Like if your ex-husband were to go to Scientology and say, this is how I feel, this is the harm that's been done to me, they would just look at him. They would call him a responsible for condition case. They would declare him one of those PTS types that she was talking about before, that you guys are responsible for this condition that I'm in. That's considered someone, they kick people like that out of the organization. So
That's correct.
There's no care like, oh shit, we've hurt this person. What can we do? It's, oh, you're a source of trouble. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Steve Britton just said, are you on good terms? I'm on very good terms with Huxley's father. I always have been. We've always been good friends. I just can't seem to reach him. I never could reach him enough to help him. That's why I said Brenda would always push vitamin B. You know, with Scientology, you don't go to the doctor. So they were like, what kind of vitamins is he lacking? Oh, he needs another Purif. He's already done 4, but he needs another Purif. They just shove this stuff on you. And I know that a lot of you have reached out to me and been like, I can't believe your story. I'm so sorry. I mean, don't be sorry for me, because I am here. I can talk about it. I feel stronger every day. But like, there are people like Michael out there who can't bring themselves to come forward. They can't talk about it. And I find that to be so sad. I've always been very, very sad for him.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's just a situation. Yeah. And anyway, I
And
hate her response.
If he did come forward, he would lose his family who are still in Scientology.
Yes. Yeah, he would.
If he chose to speak about it publicly because he thought it was the right thing to do, he would lose people he relies on for support. It's like, it's that multiple layers of gaslighting and mindfuckery.
What you just said a second ago, Aaron, about him being declared something, like it's true that like someone who just can't seem to function, they have no use for. And Kathy Otto, who was on the call yesterday, sat me and Brenda down a long time ago when I was married to Michael. And she said, the reason he is the way he is, guys, this is no joke. Michael loves music and movies, but like he's always loved like John Lennon and the Beatles and like just that 70s stuff. He's a really cool, interesting guy. He's very artistic. And Kathy told Brenda and I, Brenda being his mother, me being his wife at the time, she said he is the way he is because he very well could be John Lennon. He's stuck in a pothead's mindset because Michael is always, people in the church always asked if he was on pot. He acts like he's high because he's always stuck in a maybe. When you would ask him something, he would do this. He'd go, I don't know. And to a Scientologist, that will drive you crazy. Like you have to be yes or no. It's true. You have to be quick about things. And he was always just kind of a dee. And so he was a little slower. And Kathy sat us down and said, I don't know if he is John Lennon himself, but he is somebody who was a pothead from the 70s and he's still stuck in that beingness, even though he's never done a drug in his life. So that's how she explained him to his mother and myself. And she was like, that's why we can't get him out of this pot fog because he's still stuck in that beingness.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What would you like to be made? Like obviously that damage would have to be made up. So honestly, what would you like for them to do?
I mean, I'm not a person that needs apologies. I don't need an apology. I just think that, like my dad, what would I like? I would like people to be held accountable for their actions. You know, I know, has anybody confronted this guy and said, hey, what about your 3 fucking kids that you just dumped? And you chose Scientology over your family, which we all know Scientology comes before family. That's nothing new in my world. But I mean, why is that okay? And why hasn't he been, and maybe he has, but I haven't gotten a letter or a phone call from him. You know, why? So he got a sec check and went clear. So we're good. Is that like the Catholic Church? You go absolve yourself of your sins and go off and be with God? I don't know. What makes that okay? What about the person you damaged? What about them? I mean, I'm happy he went clear. That's cool. Maybe he really had some big wins. But what about the people that he did the damage to? What about them?
Yeah, he definitely should do something to make up any damage he made.
But nobody's holding him accountable to do that. So you asked me honestly, what do I want? I want those people to be talked to about that. You know, I'm happy Dan may be OT8 now, but he was a class 6 CS then.
Right.
Dan, I wouldn't say he tried to have sex with me. He asked to have sex with me when I blew staff and came back when I was 19. And he was trying to get me back on lines. And he was married to Arla at the time. And she was at flag training. And I was in his basement of Ted and Glenda Nelson's house. And he was trying to get me back on lines. And I just came back and moved back to Kansas City from Omaha. And he was asking me to have sex with him. And I said, I would never do that, Dan. I would never do that to Arla. And he was like, Arla wouldn't care. So what about that? I mean, what about that stuff? Does that just go away now that he's on his OT levels? Does he not act like that anymore?
Not that I've seen. For sure not.
It's pretty twisted, but right? I mean, it's like criminal behavior. Yeah. And that guy was clear at that time. So why shouldn't that be different per LRH?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely shouldn't be happening like that. But you know, it's true. I mean, in his example, right? I don't know his history. I don't know, like, you know, only what you told me, right? I know those horror stories, but you know, that's why we have like the ethics technology, right? To write up a report, have the person confronted in ethics, right? Whenever it's applicable, right? And get them to handle it, you know, be like, hey, you know, actually I should have not asked you that. That was really, really bad. Sorry about that. I'm doing conditions for the second dynamic because my marriage sucks and we never have sex. So I decided to ask you. I don't know.
Yeah, he cheated on
Maybe that should have been you.
Arla with Amanda actually, and divorced her, and then married Amanda. So yeah, no, I get that. I guess this goes back to the elite thing, the like we're the best of the best, the cream of the crop, right? I mean,
right?
Are we?
I guess.
Is he?
I understand your viewpoint for sure. I would say nobody is perfect, honestly, and there are definitely mistakes people have done, and you wouldn't say people are holy or saints or anything, you know, in Scientology.
Not at all.
But there is a technology to actually, not at all, yeah. And then people, the one thing is that there is technology to actually stop that, you know, continuous overt act that people don't know how to stop, that are not Scientologists, right? Because they don't really have the technology, the ethics technology, like the overts and withholds. You know, actually, once you clean those all up, you don't continue doing those things. Some people need, this rundown called false purpose rundown.
FPRD, sure.
FPRD, right? So that many people need that a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And they keep even a sec check, you know, and then they keep like whatever, they stay clean for a year, and then I don't know, they go and get re-stimulated on something, and then go and do the same shit, you know.
Sure. And Sophia, I want to point out, I want to say something. My hands are not clean. Okay, I am 38 years old. I have done things I shouldn't have done. I've said things to people I shouldn't have. But this is a little different to me. I hold him in a different place because the guy threw a fax machine at my head and tried to choke me. I've never done anything like that to someone. The guy tried to have sex with me when I was 19 and he was married, and I said no. So it's like these are criminal, dirty, creepy, like something I would expect from a creepo in a bar, you know? Like it's not like we got in a fight and he was like, "Fuck your mother, I hate you." Okay, yeah, I mean, we all say things we shouldn't have said, right? Like I get that.
Yeah.
But he did some dirty things that's beyond for me. That's kind of past what's okay, or like, oh, we all do things that we regret. You know, like you said, nobody's perfect. I get that. But like, you know, it's possible to go through life without choking somebody out, or, you know what I mean? It's kind of beyond. It's a little bit past the behavior that's appropriate for me.
Right.
So I don't know.
I mean, that's for sure.
I don't know. I don't know what goes on.
You were right about that. That should have never happened. And I mean, that was what, 20 years ago, you said?
Yeah, and he was a class 6 flag trained CS at the time. So yeah, this wasn't a new guy off the street that just read Dianetics. This was a highly trained, the highest trained staff member in the org, and he still is. Yeah,
it's true. And that should have never happened. I don't know what the heck happened with him that day. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure she's got his FPRD, you know.
He must have just been in a bad mood, Reese.
Why does she keep doing that? He's obviously had FPRD. That was what, 20 years ago? I love how she just like, why are we even talking about this girl? It was 20 years ago. Move on.
Yeah.
But when the Tom Harry guy got declared, she's like, see, the tech works.
Right. We get rid of the bad ones. We get rid of the bad ones.
I mean, I really like. Go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, you're not just talking to her about some random Scientologist who happened to wrong you. He's like one of the most senior Scientologists in the United States.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't know what got into him that day. What the?
I don't know if you said something to provoke him. I mean, she just keeps making excuses, and I'm really glad. When I was listening to this last night, I'm like, man, I'm proud of what I said, especially at the end of this call, how I said, like, it's possible to go through life without choking out a 14, 15-year-old kid and almost killing him. It's possible. I mean, again, this isn't just some Joe Blow. This is a really highly trained guy. So I'm glad that I at least tried to hold her feet to the fire. It didn't work.
Yeah,
but
I think you've handled yourself amazingly in this conversation.
It's just crazy though, Aaron. Like it's angering me as I sit here. I'm like, why? I still can't get an answer. I'm like, why is this okay? And she's like, well, he's obviously gone through this now, and he's obviously better now. And that's such a weird. Anyway, let's go on.
Yeah.
All these evil purposes pulled out on that, because you do FPRD as part of your after clear, you know.
Right.
But also that was 20 years ago. And as part of that, you know, there was no G82 back then. So I don't know what's been, like whatever the heck was re-stimulated in him back then. Like obviously we know that any behavior below 2.0 on the tone scale, which is antagonism,
Right.
is not really the being itself.
Correct.
It's the reactive
Oh
mind
my
takes
God.
over and you lost it,
Right.
And I don't have more words than that. Like I know that I've gotten FPRD, like I've done FPRD twice, and stupid shit I used to do before, I don't do anymore.
This is actually a fascinating thing that she's saying.
Uh,
If you do something evil, it's not you who did it.
Yeah, how
So
many
you can't be
excuses?
held responsible.
We just a few minutes ago, people aren't perfect. She keeps going through the making excuses for him. A dog that bites is a dog that bites. Like, this is ridiculous that we're even sitting here going back and forth, this woman and I. If she walked out onto the streets of the org right now and someone came over and beat the crap out of her, she would call 911 and get the guy arrested. If it was a WOG.
Mm-hmm.
Why do those laws not apply inside the org?
It's true. It's so true.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Right.
I did the sec checks before. I was an HTO staff member for like 9 years, so I would do a sec check here and there, right? Even LOA sec checks, and sometimes I would get back into the same circle. I would like be clean for a while, and then like a year or two later, I would get back into doing something stupid, like the same thing, and I was like, oh, Donna, why do I keep doing it? And finally, I did my FPRD, and it's great,
Right.
right? But that's just me, obviously. But it's just things change, and that is maybe something not that not very acceptable to you, or maybe not something that you can believe in necessarily right this second, and I could understand that. But I just know that it does people do change. You have like the KRC and ARC triangle. Do you remember those?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was a Scientologist for 35 years. I remember all that stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
It doesn't go
the more
away.
knowledge, the more control, the more responsibility.
Right.
And obviously you expect that, because obviously you're like, oh, he's a class 6 CS. Like, give me a break. Like he knows this, and that should have not happened.
Yeah, it shouldn't have happened. And if tech is in, then ethics is in. So I just expect more.
Right. Right. Exactly. And then sometimes people do stupid shit. They do. We've seen it.
Do you think LRH did stupid shit?
I'm sure he's had his moments, but I don't think it was like, he was doing his research and he would just get better and better. And like I sometimes talk to, Joe Breeden, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a really nice guy, like 82, I think 83 now.
Why is she talking about, who's this Joe Boyden? She's like, let's stop talking about LRH beating. Did LRH make stupid? Did LRH do stupid shit? What a great question.
And you could tell she did not know. She was like, I'm sure he had his moments.
It's like the Scientology equivalent of, mommy, is Santa Claus real? You're asking, did L. Ron Hubbard do stupid shit? Well, but he probably had his moments, but then he went and did his research. That every morning I wake up and I go, don't worry about what happened yesterday, guys. I did some research. Well, y'all were sleeping. I did some research.
Clean slate.
I've made some advancements. It wasn't me who did all that stuff yesterday.
I was below 2.0 on the tone scale, so that wasn't me. That's how they do it. That's how it works.
But Reese, she segues by asking you, did she say Joe
Breeden? Joe Breeden. He's actually still my Facebook friend. I have like 3 Facebook friends that haven't blocked me that are still, he's on staff at the church. He worked with L. Ron Hubbard. And so he always talks about stories of what a great guy he was. So she immediately has to switch. She's got to get out of this question that I asked her.
Oh, that's what she's talking about. I'm going to rewind it like 10 seconds here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I sometimes talk to, Joe Breeden, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a really nice guy, like 82, I think 83 now.
Yeah.
And he used to work with LRH. And sometimes I would be like stuffing my promo in my letters, and he would be like, he'd start talking about something, and I'd find myself talking to him for 20 minutes about stories, how he used to work with LRH.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of those stories was like, wow, that was very nice. Or, like,
That was a great story where nobody got beat or slapped or punched or kicked. Wow, those were the good old days.
Back when he was doing his research. I find myself listening for 20 minutes because there was no violence in that story.
Every morning we woke up on the ship and it was a new Ron. A new day dawning and a new Ron.
It's so funny.
Oh, Lord.
does say in different references sometimes where he's like, like, if this person is being completely like insane or whatever, and you look obviously at the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, like obviously if you have a guy who's like coming in here with a gun trying to shoot people, yeah, you're gonna try to do something to stop him.
Is that where we draw the line?
But if you don't come in with a gun, I mean, what did you do to bring it on?
So if you have a guy that comes in with a fax machine beating people, that's different.
What?
That guy can go on to be the senior CS. But the gun is where we draw the line. People can get hurt, guys. People can get hurt with that.
Stick your hands up. This is a robbery. I've got a fax machine and I know how to use it. Oh my God.
Him and stop him from shooting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was always like towards the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean.
And I'm not saying,
I hear
that something that was the greatest good.
I just hear a lot of good stories like that about LRH. And so I expect an org to be that way. I expected Scientology to be that way,
Yeah, it's true. And I can't blame you. It's correct. We should be, and we all strive to be.
Yeah.
Definitely, like there's even references that he wrote, like, you're doing this job as I would do it. So do your best, basically,
Yeah. Yeah. So I just expected that.
Yeah. And it's good. You have high expectations, which is good.
Yeah.
And I just know, these people, you don't have to be CS'd by them. You don't have to really interact with them, but you can keep flourishing and prospering, which I'm sure is what you're doing. But I'm saying, if you didn't feel like you got results or you get what you expected out of Scientology, then we can give you any needed sessions, any repair, so we can fix whatever went wrong.
Yeah.
In regards to the technology itself,
Okay. All right.
Good. Yeah, and also if you need help with your son, like obviously you don't really want him to be in Scientology, but if anything happens at some point in the future, and you're like, I think you definitely need some auditing, or you need some dianetics because you're like going a little crazy here on me, then that also can be done. Like our doors are always open for you.
Okay. Well,
Unless you talk to Asmithlevin, then they're welded shut.
That entire conversation, we get to the end, and in case you want to get him some auditing, did I give away any idea that would be the path we would take?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Let's see. I think there's only a few seconds left.
thank you, Sophia, for talking to me, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. And whatever other questions you have, I can also answer them. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so if whatever baggage, whatever questions, confusions,
I wonder if she knows how dismissive it is to keep referring to you as your baggage. Like, okay, this really is almost over.
agreements, you can bring them and we can fix them.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Good. Well, I'm really glad we spoke. Thank you so much for talking to me. I was going to come out and visit you because I was like, if she doesn't pick up, oh my God, I'm going to have to go do a wellness check, but we'll see. So you picked up, so we spoke. So if you ever change your mind, in regards to like getting a session, or if you want to call me up and ask me more questions, we can totally do that.
Okay. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah? Okay, awesome.
All right.
Okay, then. Well, you have an awesome holiday season. if you're ever interested in any events, I can text you the flyers. Is that something you want to know about? Or that's like, nah, forget it.
I would say no.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, good then. Then I'll check up on you again just to make sure you're doing well. In a bit. I'm not saying like next week or something, but just want to make sure you're well.
Okay. Thank you, Sophia.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome then. Okay.
Okay.
Take care then. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Wow.
Sophia,
So-
where'd you go? She didn't come back and check on me.
So like at the end of the whole call, and we're going to take up some of the there's some questions that require responses. The purpose of this call, well, you know what? Instead of me doing a monologue and then taking up the questions, let's do both. First of all, Mary asks, who are the people in the photo? That is an actual Sea Org recruitment poster. I'm guessing those people might not even be Scientologists, but I don't actually know because I don't know them personally. And because I don't have a photo of Sophia, I just used a photo of a few Sea Org members I found on the internet. Beata SZ asks, what would happen if Reese did not answer all these private detailed questions and just hung up or just gave some yes or no answers?
I mean, you just don't do that when you're a Scientologist. It's just, I mean, it's not worth the price you're going to pay when you do finally go to an org. You're going to be pulled in immediately and put in some sort of an ethics handling situation for that behavior, which is interesting because if I would bring in a fax machine and hit someone, it's a pass. But if you hung up on someone, or I mean, do you agree with that, Aaron? As a public, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it because I would get in trouble for doing that.
Well, sure. And Sophia actually made a little bit of a reference at the end of that call to what would happen. She would have made a visit to Reese's house.
That freaked me out right at the very end when she was like, I was going to do a wellness check.
Yeah. But that's what they do. Like if you would have hung up on her, she would have just called back. And then if you wouldn't have answered the phone, she would have come to your home and knocked on the door.
With a couple of Sea Org members. That's happened to me.
Yeah.
Probably 100 times in my adult life. They've showed up at my house.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Curtis, similar question. Why even talk to this woman?
Well, Jeff, kind of like what I just said. I mean, being in Scientology, you're very deeply rooted in when you're seasoned and born into it like Aaron and I were. So you can't blow people off, especially Sea Org. They are senior to you. And kind of like we just said, they will come to you. So you can't, I don't know what the real world is like with other religions, but you can't just, I don't feel like talking to you, click. I mean, Doug did that a couple of times and they showed up while he was putting crowns on people. He was a dentist. He would be in the middle with patients. And I was there a couple times this happened. People in uniform showed up because they didn't like how he treated them at the org. They would show up unannounced. So you just can't do that. It's not how it works.
Wow. Same question, but I wanted to at least throw it up there since it's there. Jess asks, Reese, has Jeff heard these recordings before now? What are his thoughts?
Yes, he has heard them. I think I played them for him then, or he might have even been around listening. So Jeff has probably different thoughts now than he had then during that conversation. I think Jeff all along thought it was very weird, but he was also very supportive of me as a Scientologist. He was a Methodist, not ever in. And he would just say, I don't understand everything and I'm supportive of you if this is what you want to do. Jeff was the first one to say to me when I told him the whole story of getting hit and sleeping with that guy when he was older and I was younger. Jeff was like, that's rape. And I was like, no, it's not. I was consenting. And he was like, you can't consent. You were 14 years old. And that was kind of my eyes opening into the real world. Because I don't know about you, Aaron, but I made a point to never talk about Scientology with a WOG. A WOG is a non-Scientologist who knows nothing about Scientology. So even when I was dating Jeff, I didn't pull him into that. I didn't tell him those stories until later on. I think right before we got married is when I told him that story. Because there's too much to explain. And you have to give all the lingo and try to get them to understand it. And that's hard to do. Yeah. So anyway, I kind of went off there. But yeah, he now I would say, Jeff absolutely hates Scientology and wishes those people could be brought to justice.
Yeah. Lisa Gillespie, I think Sophia may be calling the Aftermath Foundation soon.
I know. I do feel kind of bad about that. Like, what's going to happen to her?
Well,
I
I
hope she can
don't.
fake laugh her way through it.
Here's the thing. She's not in violation of anything. Her job as, doing the job of chaplain is to contact disgruntled, disaffected, upset public. This was before I accidentally doxed you. This was before Kathy. There's nothing she could have done, or no way she could have known that the call was being recorded. It's not actually her fault. Now, the Scientology ethics officers may not see it that way. I don't know. I felt that she handled that call pretty much the way she would have been expected by her seniors to handle that call. She didn't say Dan's a bad person and you're right, we should get rid of him. I feel like she did what they would have expected her to do. I actually wouldn't think that she would get in trouble for that call being recorded and for us doing this video. Personally, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope Kathy gets in trouble.
Yes, I hope Kathy gets in trouble. After you told her in your conversation with Kathy, this is the phone call that you told Kathy you had recorded. You said, I recorded a call with the Sea Org member that called me as the chaplain.
And Brenda. And I told her Brenda.
So Kathy continued speaking to you for much longer.
That was like the first 5 minutes of our call too.
Yeah.
Like it was right in the beginning and she kept going.
Yeah. Do you carry a permit for that fax machine? I'm with Joni Cummings. Tiff says, hands off Huxley. Love your straightforward answers to this gaslighting and narcissistic behavior. Yeah.
Yes.
That phone call that you listened to, that is a textbook example of what it means in Scientology to try to handle someone. It's just like there was one question, I lost it in there, but it was, why does she keep asking you how you think of what you think about things or what your opinion is on things? If it doesn't matter what your answer is, why is she even asking? This is the tools they have at their disposal to try to, they think that one of the reasons you're upset is you haven't been heard. You haven't been acknowledged. Nobody's told you that you're right for feeling that way. It's okay. And they think that once they give you a really good acknowledgement, you should just get over it and come on back in.
And once you come on back in, you're going to be in real trouble. See, they're trying to be soothing and get me to be heard and acknowledged. But once I'm actually back into it, I'm going to be in huge trouble because this was nattering, which is complaining. And I would be doing a huge ethics cycle to make up the damage, probably to Dan, for whining and bitching about him so much.
Yes. Yes. And if you ever, for any reason, had to get the truth rundown, that truth rundown would not be considered complete until you realized that all these bad thoughts and ideas that you have about Dan and all these things that you think you saw and witnessed and experienced that you didn't actually. That's not actually what happened. And you realize that your perceptions were being negatively impacted by your own evil intentions. And those things never happen.
Right. And that is why Mr. O'Connor tried to say in an email last Saturday that to Aaron that I made all of that up and he's never hit anybody. I would feel like it's safe to say at this point, I've talked about it and you guys have heard me talked about it to these different people. And I'm not making it up and I wasn't hallucinating. And it's absolutely true.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is all the recordings we have that you have of Sophia. We do have other recordings. How many, the recordings that you have left? Is it with your mother-in-law, Brenda?
Yes. And then I have one other recording with another Sea Org member.
Okay, great. You think we're going to do the one with Brenda tomorrow?
That one's a long one, so we'll probably want to break it up. I don't know. It's up to you if you want to do it tomorrow. I have a shorter one with another Sea Org member. I haven't listened to it in a long time, but we could play that one it's up to you.
I'm happy to do part one of Brenda. Is it, you think break it up into 2 parts or 3 parts?
Probably. It's 4 separate audios, but all the same call.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll take a look at it.
I think this is good, Aaron, that I do think that this is kind of unusual. I don't know how many other people have recordings like I do, but I think this is really helpful for all of you never in people to really get to hear it from what do they say, the horse's mouth. I mean, it's not from Aaron, it's not from me. You really get to hear it. And I do feel, again, kind of validated for that. Like, I'm not making this up. It's not a lie. I said these things to these people. And I hope this harms Scientology. I hope that there are people who are listening right now that are under the radar going, holy shit, I got to get out of this. Now that I've heard it, now that I've actually heard it, there is no solution. They're lying to us.
And now that we've got all these people with all these YouTube channels and we've got the whole SPTV phenomenon, I want to put this out there to all you under the radar people and anyone who's going to consider going under the radar. When you start getting the phone calls from friends, family members, staff members, Sea Org members trying to, please record them all. Even if you don't plan on making them public, record them all as long as it's legal to do so from where you are, because maybe the fact that Scientology will know that there's a very high likelihood their phone calls are being recorded, maybe it will make them think twice about harassing people. I'm of two minds on this, because on the one hand, I want them to do it so that they can be recorded doing it and it can be exposed. But on the other hand, maybe this will cause them to modify their behavior a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
I think so. And I like how I exposed how I did it. I recorded it on my Apple Watch. I hit the record thing, and then I just played the phone call on speaker. And so I was thinking that too. I'm like, are they going to ban Apple Watches? Like in the church? I mean, not that that would stop it anyway, because there's apps that you can record calls on. But I do wonder if now, like going forward, if they're going to change, there will be some new thing out from Flag, from David Miscavige himself, that's like, no more. I already know they can't have, when Brenda was training, she had to leave her purse, her phone, everything in the room when she went to train. I just wonder if there's going to be some new, don't you think there could be, like, no devices, that we're going to pat you down? You're going to be walking through one of those electronic machines now when you go into the org.
There's going to be a special section in everyone's digital CF file for whether they are known to own or be in possession of an Apple Watch. And they'll be like, oh, this person's really disaffected. You got to call them and like, sir, wait, it says here they have an Apple Watch.
Stop what you're doing. They have an Apple Watch. I do wonder, I wonder if people may be treated a little bit better. I doubt it, because the higher up people, especially won't, and they'll never leave, and they'll take the abuse all day long, and they'll never report it or leave.
Yeah, totally. All right, guys. Well, that's what we've got for today. I got a bunch more later today. You got anything else planned later today? Any videos, any lives?
No, I didn't. I have my Sunday live with Jeff, Squeeze the Can Sundays.
When do you guys do that?
We usually do it Sunday night. So
Okay.
something, but yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Thank you, as always, to everyone who watches until the very end. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.